Welcome to Yoga with the Sharks. We're in the shark tunnel at the Loveland Living Planet Aquarium, and I have my friends here from America First Credit Union, and we're giving you this special class so that we can get some serenity under the sea. So this class is for anyone and everyone, so we hope you enjoy. Everyone here, you ready? Let's start inhaling through our nose, exhaling through our nose. That's the quickest way to find your own personal peace. I am Amanda Jones and I love the sharks. I love the water. And I would like for you to imagine yourself just underneath the sea, just imagining those sunlight beams coming down through the water. Imagine all of the animals that you'd see down there. Breathing gently. We're standing with our feet hip distance apart, pushing into the big toe mounds. You will find that your legs get a little extra strength. Relax the glutes, pull the lower belly in, and you'll feel nice and tall. And when you inhale, really fill up the lungs so you can feel the expansion in your rib cage. We're just growing taller and expanding outward. Roll the shoulders back a few times until they naturally fall in their perfect position down by your sides. Your neck nice and neutral. And funny thing, relax the mouth, relax the tongue, relax the eyes. We don't realize that these things can get really clenched and tight. And last thing for our posture, let's imagine a string being pulled from the crown of our head, lifting our vertebrae apart from each other, creating space, making us tall. Beautiful. You're still breathing in through your nose, out through your nose. And now take a body scan from your toes to the top of your head. Do you feel any tension in any certain place? Do you feel a little more space in other places? Just take an inventory, because I've noticed that once you acknowledge a place of tension or a place of space, that kind of balances everything out. When we ignore the pain that's there or try to pretend like it doesn't exist, it just seems to grow and grow. So yeah, maybe we do have a little bit of back pain, a little bit of knee pain, a little bit of anxiety, and that's okay, because we're gonna move that energy as we go. So big inhale, now fill up the belly and exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the belly. Exhale through the mouth. One more, inhale, exhale. We're releasing a lot of those good biochemicals into our body. You know, once we get going, we'll start to feel those endorphins. Let's sweep up. We have sea turtles coming up overhead, and they're really using their fins to just scoop the water. So I love the idea of just scooping this water and taking it down with us as we bend our knees and slowly hinge forward from our hips for our first forward fold. Now, a lot of us aren't warmed up in the legs, so I invite you to sit the tailbone way back. I'm going to give the camera a little bit of a tutorial here, sitting the tailbone way back and then dropping the neck. Shake your head no and nod your head yes. There goes my hood. Breathing. And if you'd like, rock forward onto your toes and see if you can extend the hamstrings just a hair. We're not fully warmed up yet, so maybe get into the hips a little bit, moving the hips a little bit, and then remembering to drop the neck. Shake it out. There we go. We need our back to be supported with our stomach either resting on our thighs or our hands and fingertips on the earth. Once they touch, then you can have some room to play and stretch, but we want to make sure the low back is supported first. Okay, turning back to my spot here. Hands on shins and push the spine nice and long. Breathing into that lengthening of the back as your tailbone moves back and the crown of your head moves forward. We're floating our fins back with our fins parallel to the earth. Really reach back with the fingertips, pushing into the big toe mounds. That will help spiral your thighs inward and open up the back of your hips. A nice opening of the low back as well. Maybe shake your back fin a little bit. Feeling like a little fishy going through this beautiful water around us. Here we go. Let's sweep the fins forward and sit the tailbone back. I'm going to fix my hood so I can see again. I like to do thumbs up to keep our motion moving upward, but we're sitting the tailbone back. Maybe pump the tailbone a little bit so that you find your natural alignment, sitting back even more so your knees do not go past your toes. Let's look to the surface of the water. Beautiful. Chest up, tailbone down. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. You can do it. We're just getting warmed up, and this is definitely getting us there. Maybe even a little sweat. Don't worry. The best part about yoga is you never just stay in the hard places. You always get a little rest after, just like life. Let's stand up. Hands at heart center. Roll the shoulders back. Let's find our nice posture again. Pushing into the big toe mounds. Release the glutes. Let your belly be free as you breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. A little engine in the heart is going now. Amazing what just a few yoga poses and breath can do. Don't even need the gym, right? Beautiful. We're going to do one more forward fold. And this time I'm going to let you guys stretch as much as you'd like. So sweep up those fins. Here's the turtle, the same one that was here to inspire us to use our fins this way before. And fold forward, hinging from the hips. Beautiful. Bending the knees as much as you'd like. There's the hood coming down. Get into the hips. Bend the knee, wiggle a hip. Maybe wiggle both hips. We really want to get into the joints during yoga because if you don't use them, you lose them as you age. Because moving the joints accesses the synovial fluid. And if we keep that flowing regularly, it won't dry up as we age. So definitely use it or lose it. Hands at the shins, push the spine long. Nice breath. Float the fins back. This helps to align our shoulder blades, give us a nice posture. Pulling in the low belly, that lifts our hips up and lets them open even more. And all the while as we're stretching, we're also strengthening our triceps, we're strengthening our hamstrings and our lower belly as we pull it in. And again, here's where we do the thumbs up chair pose. So sweeping up, getting my hood off, thumbs up, look up, tailbone down. Let's pulse the hips a little bit to let them fall in their natural place. Great posture for aligning your hips. I'm gonna move the hair out of my face, thank you. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Sitting back more, chest up more, shoulders away from the ears, and maybe a little smile under our masks. There we go. Maybe looking around at the animals around us, getting some nice inspiration from their movement. I wish you could see this turtle over here who's just laying on the sand. I like that, but maybe afterward, after yoga. Wonderful. Instead of folding forward, we're just going to stand right up. 3 deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Here we go. One more. Opening our hands, palms to the front of the tank here, the tunnel at the aquarium. This is mountain pose. There are definitely mountains underwater, and it's wonderful that in Utah we have both the water and the mountains. So here, I'd like you to set an intention for this class, or maybe the rest of your day or evening. What would you like to have, do, or feel throughout this class, throughout the rest of the day or evening, or maybe your life? What do you want to have, achieve, or feel? May I have fun during the rest of this yoga class. That's a great one. May I have strength. May I have peace. May I have $1 million. Yeah, I like all of those. Wonderful. We're going to move into our sun salutations. And if at any point you feel a little overworked, or maybe you need a break, maybe your breath is going really hard, that's a good sign to maybe pause in hands and knees or child's pose. So here we go. Sweeping up, folding forward, hinging from the hips. We're just going to do a regular forward fold here. Maybe we're warmed up enough to just go ahead and extend the legs as much as we'd like. Those hamstrings can stretch. And then hands on shins with an inhale, halfway lift. Nice straight back. Beautiful. Forward fold. This is where we plant all 10 fingers on the earth and step back into plank. Okay, I'm going to move to the side just to show you the alignment in plank so that we can have a nice feeling about our alignment and that we're not injuring ourselves. So I like to push into all 10 fingers, or at least the thumb and the index finger, to protect my wrist. I pull the lower belly in and raise the chest just a little bit. My hips will naturally fall where they will when I raise the chest. Wonderful. We roll forward on our toes and elbows move back. Beautiful. Before you hit the bottom, push back up, flip the feet, and now we're in upward facing dog. This is a nice stretch of the belly, and we're hammocked between our wrists and the tops of our feet. If you need to rest your thighs on the earth, that is completely fine. Now let's move into hands and knees here. Tuck the toes, lift the hips into downward facing dog. Pull the lower belly in and look between that space that's created between your legs there. You might catch an animal or a nice glimmer of light. I'm going to move back so that you can see me on this angle as well. And whether your feet are hip distance apart or toes come to touch, it's your personal preference, because it's about releasing the back in downward facing dog. So the more we bend our knees, the more our hips go up higher. So perhaps experiment with bending the knees and lifting the hips. Maybe your heart starts to melt towards the thighs. Whatever yours looks like, as long as it feels safe, where you can't just point to one part that's hurting, then go ahead and do what feels natural to you. Now I'm going to exhale and push my heels slightly towards the earth and see how that feels in my hamstrings. And we're going to lift our right heel up using our glutes just to lift. We want to keep our hips level. Beautiful back there. Everyone is keeping their hips nice and level. And go ahead and release the toes to the earth. Left heel pops up there. Just raising each leg using our glutes. This also aligns our hips to make sure that we're not overusing one side over the other, which can create injury and muscle fatigue, ligament fatigue, and release. Look up between your hands and step to meet them in a forward fold. Halfway lift, forward fold, And pulling in the navel, we're hinging from the hips, nice big sweeping up. Greet the surface of the water. You can see the light up there, whether it's evening or daytime. We've got the nice shimmer of the water around us. Let's just take that in, letting our breath settle. And hands come to heart center. Our sun salutations can be thought of as the cardio for our yoga practice. So we'll do one more just to keep this heat going within us. Inspired by the sharks who are passing by over us, they use nice even energy and nice muscle tone and alignment to make sure that they can glide through these more intense times. Maybe they're pushing through a current, but their level of energy stays the same. So let's use our breath to keep our energy nice and level where we move through these postures quickly, but also with integrity. Sweeping up on an inhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, forward fold. Plant the hands, step back into plank. You're more than welcome to drop your knees, roll forward on your toes and elbows back. Before you touch the earth, chaturanga and upward dog. Beautiful. Let the shoulders come away from your ears. Perhaps look up. I'm seeing sharks and fish and even the sea turtle going over back and forth, watching us. Now let's drop the knees. Pull the lower belly in to protect your low back. As you lift the hips, tuck the toes for downward facing dog. And again, a nice release for the low back in downward facing dog. So our weight is on our hands and our shoulders and our toes. So pull that lower belly in and you can really feel the low back release. Perhaps bend the knees a little more and release the neck, maybe shake it out. Good job. Inhale, raise the right heel. I love that some are modifying and maybe going into child's pose to keep that breath even. Let's do the opposite leg. We've got the raise. If you look up under your armpit, you can see some of the animals passing over on the top of us. Such a cool thing. And release that leg. Let's look up between our hands. Inhale, step forward. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, hinging at the hips to protect our low back. We come up. Pausing here to just observe the space above. We very rarely do that in life. But look at all the beauty that's found above us. I spent some time looking at the clouds today on my break from work, and it calmed me down so much. It was such a different feeling than sitting and looking at my phone. It felt so freeing and expansive to look up at the sky, just like it does here looking at the surface of the water. Hands at heart center. 3 deep breaths. You at home are getting all the natural sounds of our breath and all the acoustics in here. Sweeping up. Hands come to heart center. And let's do that 2 more times, sweeping up. We're increasing range of motion in our shoulders. And last one, sweeping up. Release the glutes and pause here at heart center, stepping back with our right foot into a lunge. For these first few lunges, I like to widen my train tracks. I do this for my expectant mothers as well, because when you're working with the belly, then it's nice to have a wider base, meaning your legs are further apart. You can do that for lunge, you can do that for warrior poses, forward folds, and that will help pretty much anyone feel more stable and have room for their torso. Okay, so here we go, high lunge. We lunge forward in that left leg, pushing on the big toe mound, the edge of our foot, and our heel. In our back foot, we're pushing mainly on the big toe mound, but kind of spreading out our toes. Yoga is about the little details. So when you get those little details right, the rest of the pose is so much easier. And this is letting our hips fall nice and naturally. Energetically, lift your torso up. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears. I love how that ray is just undulating just like the water itself. So beautiful. Beautiful. Now with the foot that's back here, we're going to lift up and step at a 45-degree angle. This is preparing us for our warrior one. My train tracks are wide, so this does not hurt my knee. If it's pinching the knee at all, open up the back foot even more to be more parallel to the back of your mat. Then we're going to twist forward like our lunge and lunge into our warrior one pose. Now here we have space for our hips. So perhaps take our hands to our hips and move the hips in a circle clockwise, because like we said, if you don't use it, you lose it, that synovial fluid. So this is a great pose to free up our hips. Maybe go in the opposite direction, the clockwise to counterclockwise. Beautiful, and back up to our warrior one arms as well. We're going to tee up the arms like so, and make sure our back foot is parallel to the back of our mat. This is our warrior two. I'm still having the wider train track, so my pose might look different than theirs, but you're getting all the same benefits. Okay, so from warrior two arms, we look over our front middle finger. It's almost like that gaze could take you into infinity rather. It's neat to focus your energy and your attention in one place because you can feel the power in that. There's a reason they call these warrior poses. You feel strong in your body and your gaze is forward, looking off into infinity, and you're prepared in the present moment for whatever comes at you. Prepared to respond rather than react. Let's take this front arm and just go ahead and rest it on your front thigh. Your back arm is coming up, swimming through the water over your ear. We're twisting our torso towards the top of the water. Extended side angle pose, good. This one is opening up the hips even more, so drop the hips. You can feel that strengthening in your quads there. Probably getting a little burny feeling there. And then here we go, swimming back up to warrior two. Then we're going to take our toes up and towards the side. I'm going to walk my train tracks back now that we are facing the side of our mat. Let's take our hands to our hips, pigeon toe our feet in just a little bit to protect our knees. And let's let the tailbone go back, and that will naturally drop our torso. We want to push into the big toe mounds again. And we feel that opening up our back body here. And slowly slide down until we're in a forward fold position again. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And I like to grab the sides of my legs here and just pull myself just a little bit. I don't strain anything. If I'm feeling strained, I back off just a little bit because we're supported when we're resting on something. So our back is safe here. So this is where I could stay as long as I drop my neck. Shake your head no. Nod your head yes. We're going to take our fingertips to the center right here and walk over to the right foot. This is giving us an extra targeted stretch in our right hamstring, which feels nice. If it's too much, then walk your hands up the leg. You're still getting the stretch if you're resting on your right thigh. That's totally fine. We're safe to relax in this moment. Drop your neck. Good. Walking over to the left side. Maybe holding the ankle with both hands. Or if that's too intense, then coming up the leg and resting your belly on your left thigh. Dropping the neck. You might feel a stretch all the way up to your low back. If you suffer from sciatica, this is a great one. It might get right in there where you need the stretch the most. Been really focusing on the hips so far in this class and opening up parts of the leg that may have not been opened up for a while. And when we work on these huge muscle groups, it usually has a chain reaction where it relaxes part of the upper back even. So we're just kind of starting low, trying to open up these hips in case you have like a sciatica issue or uneven hips. That's the cause of a lot of low back pain. So these big muscle groups, they play a big role in that, and we're trying to relax and tone them. Beautiful. Walking back to the center. Let's just walk ourselves back up using the help of our legs, hinging from the hips. That's helping to keep our spine straight. So instead of flopping over and rolling up, where we can squish the, there's a disc in between your vertebrae. We don't want to squish that disc out by doing this. We want to keep all the ice cream sandwiches stacked how they should. So that's why we hinge instead of rolling up. Wonderful. Now let's take our toes up and again flip towards the front and step towards the front of the mat. You can do feet hip distance apart, or you can widen your train tracks, because now we're stepping back with the left foot into our high lunge. Beautiful. And just a quick reminder that you don't want your knee to go past your toes in pretty much any case here. Okay, so with the wider train tracks, this is my lunge. A lunge is wonderful for aligning your hips as well and strengthening our legs, strengthening our base. Yoga is a wonderful balance of stretching and strengthening. The yin and the yang. Beautiful. Now let's go into our warrior one. So our left foot comes out to a 45-degree angle. You can open it up even more if you need some more space around that knee. And again, lunge forward. Nice tall torso. Maybe a little smile under our masks. Now the back foot is now parallel to the back of the mat as we tee up our arms for warrior two. Taking our gaze over our front middle finger. Beautiful. Seeing if that front knee can track more over the second toe rather than in towards the center. Might be a little bit of a stretch, but see if you can track it just a little bit more open. Nice active triceps, nice tall torsos, active triceps. Ready to respond to anything. I was waiting for a phone to ring so I could use my Zen. Wonderful. Let's take that front arm down, reaching with our back arm, swimming through the water over our ear, our left ear, twisting slightly towards the surface of the water. Beautiful. And Swimming back up to warrior two. Go ahead and step up to the front of our mat. Let's just sweep up. Hands at heart center. We're just going through with the arms to open up those shoulders again. Give our legs a little break. Good. And hands at heart center. To the top of the mountain already. Can you believe it? Let's do a little tree pose. If you're familiar with tree pose, it's balancing on one leg, and the other leg can come up and just rest against the ankle. It can rest against the calf, or it can rest against maybe the top or center of your opposite thigh. That one, though, it has to use the tension of both pushing together to stay up. You could even hold it and grow taller. The focus is not on that right leg. It's on the balancing leg, the one that's really holding you firm. So gripping the earth with all 5 toes, pushing into the heel. Beautiful. Finding a single point of focus really helps with this, because you can almost borrow the energy of something that's not moving to help keep you steady. If you're watching something that's moving, you'll almost energetically entangle with that thing. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and release. I like to have my toes touching when I start tree pose. And yes, we can go ahead and rest our opposite leg, our opposite foot against that standing leg, against the ankle, the calf, or again, we can hold it against our upper or center thigh. If you've noticed, I've avoided the knee, because the knee doesn't need to have any more pressure or gravity acting on it. The knee is a pretty sensitive joint. It's a strong joint, but we like to avoid directly putting pressure on the knee when we can. So again, I'm just gonna hold my ankle with my left hand. It actually helps align me in a lot of cases. So I'm gonna raise my right arm. Beautiful. And doing it this way is going to naturally train you for when you're ready to let go. It's going to give you that muscle memory where you're feeling your heel pinned against your thigh, and you're going to remember that whether you're holding it or not. So it makes the release a lot easier when you're ready to let go. And here we have 2 sharks crossing right over us. And now I'm watching the thing that's moving. So I've got to find something that's not moving for just 1 more second here. Beautiful. Maybe our tree is moving in the waves, and release. Good job. Shake that leg out. Some people say when I tell them I teach yoga, I'm not flexible, I don't do yoga. And I say, well, yoga is not all about flexibility, it's also about stability. So as much as we practice opening and stretching, we also practice the strengthening and the compacting and contracting, because we need both at work in our body so that we both protect and make more flexible things like our ligaments so that they don't snap or they don't get overstretched. So a blend of flexibility and stability is what we're going for. Okay, wonderful. We're doing a sun salutation as we come down the mountain here. Forward fold, halfway lift, forward fold. Let's step back into plank and chaturanga. Upward dog, downward dog. Pedal out the heels. Let's take our right heel up. And let's move into a plank with that right heel still up, and take the right knee to the right elbow. Let's lift our chin and our chest and hold for 3, 2, 1. Back up. Beautiful. Rest those right toes. Lift the left heel. And again, forward into a plank, left knee to left elbow, for 3, 2, 1, back up. And we're just gonna do 3 total on each side. So rest the toes. Right heel up for our second one on the right side. The more you can lift that leg, the easier it is. And back up and rest. Second one on the left side. Gotta throw in a little bit of ab work. Almost done. 2, 1, go back up and rest. Last one on the right side. Right heel up, right knee to right elbow for 3, 2, 1. Back up and rest right toes. Left heel up. Go forward into plank for 3, 2, 1. Back up and down. Let's pedal out the heels, drop our knees, sit back into child's pose. So with child's pose, you're sitting on your heels. You can also widen your knees to make room for a belly. If you're working with a belly, you can fold your arms and rest your head on your folded arms. If you're not, if you'd like to do a nice stretch of your back, walk your fingertips forward and sit back, almost gripping the mat. Sit back into your back muscles. Breathe to expand the back muscles and then lower your forehead. So you're getting an active stretch in your child's pose. Okay, lift the right heel and here we go. 3, that's our last one on that side. Bring it back up and rest the right toes. Left heel up. Last one on the left side, go into your plank. Hold that leg up high for 3, 2, 1. Back up to our downward dog, resting the toes, pedaling out the heels, dropping the knees. And here we go into our child's pose. So if you are working with a belly, you might want to sit back on your heels but open up your knees. Some people enjoy this on their hips as well. And then you have ample space. And I would like to fold my arms this way so I have a little more height before I put my forehead down. That way you can do child's pose whether you have a belly or you just want a little more space between you and the floor. Or if you want a good back stretch, sit back on your heels, walk your fingertips forward before you put your head down, gripping your mat, pushing, or actually you're pulling from the grip into your back muscles and then release the forehead. That way you have a nice active stretch in your back where your hips are pulling backwards and you're anchoring your body with your fingertips and stretching that whole back for you. That feels so nice. Let's just breathe here for a moment. Adding little breaks after something difficult can really help energize you for the next task at hand. A lot of people think that they're unproductive when they're resting. But really, that's so imperative that you put resting in so that you can power up. It's like charging your phone at night or plugging the batteries into the wall so you can have nice full power when you start the next task. Beautiful. Working our way back up into hands and knees. We're going to do some cat-cows. So your knees hip distance apart. I always tuck my toes to give me more stability. And let's walk our shoulder blades back so that we have a nice alignment to start with. And our hips are nice and level. Maybe pull the low belly in so you can feel your hips leveling out. And this is our cow pose. So chin up, tailbone up, and an inhale. Now on the exhale, tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone, and push into your shoulder blades. Beautiful, until you feel empty of air. Then when you feel full of air again, coming up for our cow pose, chin up, chest up, shoulders down. Exhale, tuck the tailbone. Beautiful. Now moving with your breath to a few more. Inhale, exhale. While you're doing that, you can also do a seated version where your hands are on your knees. Inhale forward. Exhale back. Inhale forward. Exhale back. Beautiful. Now when everyone's ready, you can go ahead and come down to your knees and find yourself in a seated position, moving slowly and comfortably. Once we're in our crisscross applesauce, as I tell my elementary school students, let's take our right leg and extend it out off the side of our mat. Nice and tall torso. You can already feel the stretch just by sitting here. So this is a perfect way to stay, or we can add a little bit more of a stretch. So where my toes might be coming up or pointing forward, we want it nice and neutral, almost like it's resting against the wall. That's going to help protect our knee. We're going to take our right arm up and scoop it in like you're holding a baby. And then take our left arm up. It's like a little ballet pose or something. I know we have a ballet dancer here. But then we just tip over like a tea kettle. Using our right elbow on the inside of our right thigh, we twist slightly up towards the surface of the water. So it's almost like that extended side angle pose when we were in our warrior sequence, where we're getting some length out of that left hip. We're also stretching our right leg. We're also twisting our spine in one of its directions, which is axial rotation, just to keep all that synovial fluid flowing. Breathing naturally. If you do this posture enough, say every night before bed, you'll find yourself just tipping and tipping and tipping. Some people even like to grab their big toe. I have more of a stable body than a flexible body, but I'm working on it. Beautiful. Come up. And let's pivot, that axial rotation, learning our new words today, and just walk gently down towards your foot. As long as you keep your chest up, your spine is safe because it's being supported. You're not putting undue pressure on your low back. Now that doesn't mean that you can't work into this, but it's once you're really resting on that right thigh, because then you're supported. If you suffer from anxiety or panic attacks, these are the postures to learn, because you can't do anything except focus on this posture. So it really helps to harness those negative thoughts and put it all into the posture. And you're also grounded, so it really just sinks everything in. There's something about these poses that really just quiet the mind because you're so focused on them. That's generally the stretches, what the stretches can do. The strengthening is more of I'm going to power through this. But the stretching is like, I'm going to focus and make sure I don't hurt myself. So you're very focused. I am taking my left hand on the outside of my right leg, and that's giving me a nice stretch in my mid-back. Breathing into the back, kind of expanding the rib cage, gives you even more of a stretch. Beautiful. And here we're also leveling the hips out. Aligning, stretching. Let's go ahead and swim up with that left hand. Beautiful. Maybe walking the fingertips away from each other just to balance out our shoulders once again. And then we're taking the opposite leg out to the side of our mat. Beautiful. This is opening up our hips also. So this hip for me is a little tighter than this one was. So I'm going to put my right foot a little more out from me so that it's giving me less of a tight space to work in. This can let my thigh gently weigh it open, if that makes sense. Because if I sit here like this, gravity is going to start to open up this hip for me. So this is just giving me a little extra space. Okay, so again, we want our left foot almost resting on a wall. So we want it a little active, but not too intense. That's just to protect the knee. So our our left arm rather, is going to scoop in. Good. That elbow is going to come on the inside of your left thigh. Your right arm goes up, and we plug it into the shoulder blade before we tip like a teapot, twisting towards the surface of the water. Reaching up out of that right hip. Now you don't have to do anything looks-wise. You don't have to make this posture look like anything. It's all about how it feels in your body. So if it's very intense when you tip, maybe you stay with your arms up like this. This is wonderful about yoga, that every posture, you can always kind of back out a few degrees and still get all the benefits from the posture. It's like if you have a color and you have a varying shade of it. It's still the same color, whether it's lighter or darker. Beautiful. See, gravity is really helping me out with this side for some reason. Swimming up. Going to center in the middle, realign before getting that axial rotation toward the left foot. And the pivot here is pretty important because we want to align the spine in this direction. So your energy goes where your focus is. So let's focus on those left toes. Pull our belly in, chest up, chin up, and slowly walk down. So I'm getting so many benefits in this particular posture. Just watching the fish, that's a really nice feature. To allow this leg, this hip is opening so much just by focusing over here. It's just kind of allowed to do its thing. Whereas over here, I'm getting the nice hamstring stretch, a lot of stretch in our backs, and we're opening up our low back and settling our hips. Breathing. We're focused and also draining all those thoughts. Because we're focused on breathing, we're focused on the posture. Perhaps on this side, it's a little tighter and you are not as far down as you were on the other side. That's okay. We're not judging ourselves. We're acknowledging that that's what's happening. And just acknowledging that and saying that's okay just really takes the pressure off. Now with this one, I am tempted to not even put my head down because I'm not as supported on this thigh as I was on the other side. So on this side, I'm not going to put my head down. I'm going to stay with my chest up. Once I get a little more flexibility in my right hip and low back, that's going to put me in a position that my stomach is resting on my thigh already. But that's not the case right now. So I'm just going to get a little space in my back and my hips in this position. We really like to take our time in these postures because we are doing so many things at one time. Kind of holding onto that leg and pulling a little bit. You're pulling your torso up out of those hips, which is really beneficial. Okay, just a few more breaths here. Really expand the back with that next breath. Gently walk your way up. Nice tall torso. Let's walk our fingertips out to align ourselves again. To remind our spine that we're not in axial rotation anymore. We're just nice and tall. We will be going into a little bit of spinal flexion here. Walking our heels just slightly forward will remove the flesh away from our sits bones. So our sits bones are our helpers whenever we're seated to keep our torso upright. So if you walk back and forth, rock, not walk, you'll find those two sits bones, which are like suitcase pegs that will keep you upright. You will know if you're too far forward. That won't feel good in the front parts of your body. And if you're too far back, you're going to run into your tailbone. We don't need those to support us. We want our sits bones. So rocking side to side to move the flesh away. There we go. Perfect. So we're going to do a similar thing except with the spinal flexion, just to give our spine its favorite directions and keep that fluid, that range of motion going. My chest is up, my stomach's in. I'm just folding gently forward to compress my lower organs. Really healthy for detox and digestion. And if you feel your hips are nice and open and even and settled, we're also again opening up the back body, also the hamstrings. We're doing so much in this one pose. Now, if your stomach feels supported, you can take your peace fingers, wrap them around your big toes, cap them off with your thumbs, and drop your head and really pull your torso towards your feet and drop the elbows. Okay, so very active posture. It's almost like you're pulling a bow back in your bow and arrow. Do you feel the compression on your lower organs? We're really massaging those lower organs there. Breathing and releasing the neck. Again, let all the thoughts go, focusing on the breathing, focusing on the sensations in your body. Just sinking to the bottom of the ocean where it's quiet and peaceful. Nothing matters except this moment in this posture where you are safe to relax. Beautiful. Slowly walk yourself back up. And here we get to the fun part of coming down to our backs. So we're going to position our toes towards the top of the mat and scoot our bum towards our heels. So the closer we get to the heels, the more aligned we're going to be when we get into our bridge pose. So I'm going to go to the side so that you can see my bridge pose posture. So here we are. We're laying down. Our heels are tucked in towards our glutes. I'm going to take my fingertips towards my heels as well, because that's going to walk my shoulder blades underneath my back. And I'm even going to walk them under even more, because that will allow the back of my head to connect with the earth once I lift my hips up. So I'm pushing into my big toe mounds. I'm actually going to walk my toes a little bit further out so that they're more at a 90-degree angle from my knees. and walk my fingertips closer to my heels. This is giving us a nice opening of our traps. We're using our body weight to push the trapezius muscles down away from our ears. We can even interlace our fingers and push back onto the back of our head to further push those shoulder and trapezius muscles down. This might feel like a subtle stretch for some or really impactful for others. Either way, it's a minor inversion, which is healthy for your heart. You're giving your heart a little break by reversing the blood flow and getting more blood through your heart and brain. And blood means oxygen, so you're literally fueling your brain. Great one to do if you're feeling a little foggy or you have to focus on something. We're also contracting these lower back organs as well, like your kidneys. We're working on our detox there. Okay, go ahead and release. Beautiful. We're going to give it a second there, and then we're going to hug our knees into ourselves like this. Hug your knees in. I'm letting my hips settle just a little bit before I hug my knees in. So I sometimes have sensitive hips, so if I work on them, I want to move slowly to make sure that alignment sticks. Okay, so this is how I get into hugging my knees, very slowly and gently. I like that my feet are just resting next to each other, and I work on grabbing opposite elbows and pulling the knees towards each other before pulling them down towards my chest. Again, very active posture. And I'm working on my tailbone moving closer to the earth, my shoulders moving closer to the earth, and really pushing into the lower back of my head. That will completely lay out my spine almost flat on the earth and give it that traction that elongates the spine and helps with back pain. If you can keep your spine healthy as you age, you will be so happy. You've noticed how the people you love, if they age without a lot of activity or a lot of posture work, then they start to get that hunching over and hunching over and hunching over, and you lose your range of motion, you lose your ability to be active. So the more healthy your spine, the healthier you're going to age, the more active you're going to be into your later years. That's why you see those yogis who are very active into their 90s, 100s even. Beautiful. Let's release. From here, we're just going to do our Shavasana. So here I invite you at home and here with my America First friends, if there is a pose that you didn't get to, go ahead and do it now. For me, I'm going to tee up my arms and drop my knees over to the right and look left. I love this gentle twist and stretch. It also helps with digestion. When you twist to the right and then to the left, you're moving things up the ascending colon and then down the descending colon. So if you have issues with digestion, twisting your knees from the right over to the left, even just one time, is going to assist you in that area. So I love to do those poses. I also love our Shavasana. It's the yoga sleep. I'm gonna scoop back up into alignment with my mat. And this is where we synthesize our entire practice. This is the end of the practice, but we want to give ourselves at least 2 minutes here. So I'm going to set you up for a nice Shavasana and then say goodbye. So you can sleep in your yoga sleep as long as you'd like. So if you'd like to do a little self-nurturing here, I invite you to place your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your stomach. And I'm going to just gently repeat some personal affirmations to plant in your psyche as your cells are really synthesizing all of the work that we did in this class today. Remember when I said that rest is just as important as activity because it's where we charge the batteries? Well, with this yoga sleep, we're not just charging the batteries, but we're changing the batteries. We're upgrading the batteries. So maybe we had some generic brand and now we have these beautiful new rechargeable, endlessly rechargeable, gorgeous batteries that have so much more life in them. So that's the idea here with our yoga sleep, changing the cells. So inhale, belly rise, exhale, belly fall. Let the toes fall apart from each other. Inhale, belly rise, exhale, belly fall. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. I do enough. I have enough. I'm going to do those again, but just add one little word. Actually, technically two. I am more than enough. I do more than enough. I have more than enough. I am worthy. I am worthy. I am worthy. I am healthy. I am healthy. I am healthy. And last one, I am happy. I am happy. I am happy. I invite you to stay in your yoga sleep as long as you would like. I'm going to come on out, rolling over to my right side and pushing up into a seated position, just so I can say goodbye to you guys. Thank you for joining me and our America First friends at the Living Planet Aquarium, in wherever you are, in your living room, your home, your work. It's very special to be able to connect with you in this way and to be in this energy. And hopefully you could feel some of the beautiful energy from our marine friends here who are very actively engaged in the practice. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you at a Yoga with the Shark someday, or please connect with us on social media. I'm Amanda Jones. Please sleep in your yoga posture as long as you'd like. Namaste.